Today, we're diving into one of the biggest struggles content creators face, self-doubt. If you've ever hesitated to post, worried about what people would think, or felt like you're not good enough to show, this episode is for you. My guest is Crissy Conner, a visibility strategist and the founder of the Visible CEO movement. She's helped countless entrepreneurs and creators break through fear, step into confidence, and build brands that make an impact. Chrissy's own journey from self-doubt to fearless visibility is incredibly inspiring, and she's here to share actionable strategies that will help you silence your inner critic and start showing up with confidence. Let's get into it. Yeah. Your journey to visibility is really inspiring, right? So what was the moment that made you realize self-doubt was holding you back, or is this something you never struggled with?
Oh, I definitely struggled with getting on video because I was petrified I had major fears of what people would say about me, what people would think about me, and what messing up, I think and not being perfect was a big factor too. And somebody saying I didn't know what I was talking about. So a lot of imposter syndrome, a lot of saying too much, a lot of perfectionism, a lot of fear of what my friends and people around me would think.
Yeah, yeah. Before you became the visible CEO, what exactly was you made mention of them. What exactly was your biggest fear? You talked about camera, and I would love to just for you to just like go deeply into it and some of the questions that would run through your mind about putting yourself out there.
Well, I think my biggest fear was probably being hated on. And as an introvert, I never really wanted to be the center of attention. When I first created this business, of course, I don't know where that noise is coming from, but when I first created this business, I was focusing on helping other people look really good on social media. So I preferred to be the behind the scenes girl. And it was a very interesting because I swore I would never be on video. I didn't want to be the center of attention. I never wanted to be on stages because I had so many fears wrapped up around it. So when I decided to step out was because I knew I had something that could help people like change their lives. Because if I struggled this much with video, right? And I struggled this much with being the front facing personal brand, then I knew other people had that fear too.
Yeah, yeah. And so you felt like if you could solve that problem for yourself, then you could really solve it for other persons that had similar problems like you did.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Uh, quickly, when you made the switch, right? When you made the switch, what like for me, I feel like this switch you made is more like you crossed, you let's say you moved from Mexico to America. I'm just giving an example. You crossed the
Yeah.
border, right? You move from one country to another, and for some reason you might have had there might be some pictures you painted in your head, and immediately you got to the country, you saw certain things, and the reality just hit you. So using that example, what was the thing that now that you've crossed the border, what would be the thing you tell people that this was what I was actually surprised when I took the step. I was surprised to learn this.
I think the thing that was probably most surprising was that, well, first of all, I really enjoyed video, which I didn't think was going to be part of it at first. But I also was surprised that it was never about me. Getting on video was never about me. It was about the person that I was speaking to. It was about the people that I could help. And that was a big game changer for me as well.
Wow. Yeah, I think recently I did an episode, and we talked about how building a personal brand is sharing your uniqueness in service of others.
Yes, absolutely. Totally agree with that.
Yeah. Now let's get to the meat of the episode, the main matter.
Okay.
Why do you think self-doubt is such a big struggle for content creators?
I think we question a lot of things that we do. We all, I think that perfectionism comes up a lot as well. So is this good enough? Do people want to hear what I have to say? I think it's ingrained in us, and it's also how we were raised and how we were grown up. And did people fully want to listen to us? I know a lot of people in my generation were told, children are meant to be seen, not heard. And so they have a lot of self-doubt about using their voice because when we are a content creator, when we are putting ourselves out there, it is our voice, it's our message, it's our face sometimes, right? If we're on video, but it really is truly about being seen and heard.
Yeah, I feel There's so many programming and so many beliefs that we're not even aware controls our thoughts, our actions, and the way we see things, the things we do, the leap and the steps we take, and everything. And we're not even aware of these things. Let alone the making an attempt to change them.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, yeah. I like how you articulated why a lot of content creators have said that. Usually I've noticed that the technicality of creating content itself is getting easier and easier day by day. A lot of persons are becoming more afraid to take the leap. For me, I'm just surprised why that would be the case.
I think people are still afraid just because, again, it's like, do people actually want to hear what I have to say? Is what I'm trying to say important? Another thing I get from a lot of my clients is, can't people just Google this? Why wouldn't they want to get this information from Google? And, it really is bringing back that personal touch and that relationship, that connection online with your audience.
Yeah. Yeah. The people need heroes. People need humans to connect with, other than just
Yeah.
answers. You've talked about now, for a lot of persons listening, the thing about self-doubt is that sometimes it's not exactly so articulate that we tell ourselves that, oh, this is self-doubt that is wrong with me. Sometimes it's just certain, what will I call it now, validated excuses that will come up with. And these excuses are actually there, but the root cause of the problem is that we're afraid of what would happen. But we just come up with these excuses. Can you give us some of the excuses that persons um come up with to cover their self doubts?
So, as far as excuses that people come up with that cause the self-doubt, I mean, again, I would say definitely the fears of what people think, the fears of what people say, how they're going to be accepted online, because nobody wants to be hated on online. I think there are a lot of, I don't look good on video is what I hear a lot. Or, I don't know that my message is important, or I don't know if it's going to convert, or, what if I go viral? What if I don't go viral? There's a lot of excuses and a lot of things that play into that self-doubt.
Yeah. While we're talking about excuses, I would just like to use this opportunity to talk about imposter syndrome. I think that's one of like the biggest excuses a lot of creators have. They're like, I'm not good enough. I'm not an expert. I don't have a lot of degrees. I don't have a lot of qualifications and stuff like that. How can creators recognize it in themselves, and what should they do about it?
Well, I think, there's a lot of opportunity out there. And, personal experience is so heavily focused on. And, as far as a coaching goes, for example, you don't have to have a coaching certification to be a coach. And I got one just because I wanted to make sure I was in full alignment if they ever did have more of a structure, or the federal government got into coaching and they really wanted to streamline it a little bit more. I wanted to make sure that I was protected. But as far as, being a good coach, you don't have to have a certification. The same thing is true with social media. The more you do anything, the better you're going to get at it, right? The more that you practice your craft, the better you're going to get at it. So the more that you're willing to put yourself out there, the more that you're willing to be authentic and try new things and stretch your edges, the better you're going to get over and over.
Yeah. Yeah. The funny thing is that this is a perpetual cycle. A lot of persons don't start because they're not good enough. And because they don't start, they never really get good or improve. And because they don't improve, they never get to start. So at the end of the day, they're just where they are.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. You've talked, what are some practical ways we could reframe this negative self-talk and, kind of turn it into a way to build self-trust?
I'd love to do a practice at the end of every single day, and I recommend all my clients doing this, is writing down 3 wins at the end of the day. Because as a business, even not being a content creator, any type of business owner, for example, we always find the negative, and our brains are wired to remember the negative. So what I have them do is write down 3 wins at the end of every single day, because when you remember, right? When you're in a bad mood, when something bad happens, you don't remember all the good stuff. You remember all the bad stuff. And so when you take the time to focus on writing these things down, like the successes, the wins, the things that happened, and you have this like in a log almost, you're able to go back and remember, oh, this is why I'm doing this. This is why I'm still here and I'm not giving up, right? And
Yeah.
so I think that's really important because again, our brains are wired to remember the bad stuff, not the good stuff. And when we
Mm.
create a wins every single at the end of each day, it's going to help us stay the path, stay the course much easier than not having that.
Yeah. I think there's this practice I like to do. It's called writing a letter to my future self. Right? I write letters to myself 2 months ahead, 3 months ahead, 6 months ahead, sometimes 1 year, sometimes 2 years, 5 years ahead. And in some of the letters, what I just do is I just describe my current day, what I'm going through, how things are a bit difficult and everything. And then 3 months later, the letter comes into my mail. I read the letter and I'm like, wow, so that was what I was having a stressful day over. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that was like a piece of cake. Why was I stressed? I was like, wow, I wonder why I felt that way. Like it's such a way to reframe a lot of the things, a lot of the stress and the challenges and all those things. Like it's just a way of changing the perspective.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You talked about taking bold action generally, right? I think one of those things you mentioned is you talked about taking bold action even when you're scared. Now, the question I'm asking is, how can someone start doing that in small, manageable steps?
I think one of the easiest ways to take bold, actionable steps is to literally do this practice that I call just one more thing. So, for example, if I'm creating a piece of content, right? Can I just create one more piece of content? If I'm working out at the gym, can I just take one more mile? Can I lift one more rep? And so it's really important, just like when I challenge myself, I mean, I do crazy challenges. Don't get me wrong. I know most people I'm not normal, but I know most people aren't going to do that, but they are willing
Yes.
to do the power of just one more. And so when we can focus on that power of just one more, that automatically, you know how they say, the extra mile is not crowded. It's very similar to that. And so I believe if you decide to stay average, if you decide to stay with the norm, right? There's a lot of competition there. When you're willing to take that just one more thing or that extra mile and do the uncomfortable things, there's a lot less competition there. And that's when you really start to win.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. It's such a good way because a lot of us, when we look at all the things we could do, we get so overwhelmed and end up doing nothing. But when you focus on the next step, like this very next step you are about to take, it shuts down all the overwhelming stuff that you could do.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because I don't think we know what we're capable of until we actually go there.
Yeah, yeah. And then that's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing. I saw a quote recently and it's like comfort is the price of growth. And I was like, well, I love the fact that you did 100 live videos in a month.
Yes.
I'd love for you to, what did that experience teach you about overcoming fear? How did that like really help you?
Well, I honestly did that. That was back in 2020. I did that because I was in a place where I felt really comfortable. And, I think as a business owner, it is one of the worst places to be is comfortable. When you're comfortable, guess what? That means you're getting comfortable results or you're comfortable with the results. So how can we elevate that? How can we make that different? So I decided I'm going to do this crazy thing. I'm going to do 100 live videos. I really what happens when I do these challenges with myself is I collapse time, meaning I find out a lot about the algorithms. I find a lot about my audience, but I also find out a lot about myself because who I was on video 1 and who I became on video 100, through the process, that changed me. And so it's really a quantum leap of you want to get better, like you do something outrageous like this, right? I could have done 100 videos over 100 days and that would have been great too. But to be able to collapse time and really focus on this is my goal, I'm going to do this crazy thing. I'm really going to put myself out there and really see how much better I can actually get.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, when you explain this challenge and how it benefited you, I just remember I think it's a very funny and viral meme. It's about a man who he was standing by the riverside and I think the child threw something into the river and He was like, go get it. And the child was like, I can't swim. So you mean you can't swim? And the man just walked down to the child, took the child and he threw him into the river. And, and he was, and I was like, wait, so what you did in the 100 videos, it was more like instead of dipping your toes, you just plunged right in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. Because if you try to tiptoe into anything, it's going to I feel like it's more painful, right? You
Yeah.
really feel
Yeah.
the temperature, that's kind of how people do cold plunges. You can't
Yeah.
slowly do that. You've got to go all in.
Yeah. There's so much time for you to think about not doing it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. You can talk yourself out of it so much faster when you have
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Yeah. You start coming up with it, and you always have good and legit reasons why you should not do it. That's the
Yeah,
funny thing. Yeah, the
absolutely.
brain is so good at preserving us, as protecting us from whatever it feels like it's risky, it's dangerous, or stuff like that. Uncharted
Yeah.
territories. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, for someone who feels stuck in perfectionism, how can they even start creating without overthinking everything? I know you've talked about like plunging yourself into it, right? What other forms
Mm-hmm.
of specific ways could someone like plunge into it? Maybe you could give scenarios of maybe a podcaster, a blogger, I don't know, some other examples so that the whole idea becomes clear and other persons listening can articulate adapt it for their own case and scenario.
Yeah, I mean, I would always say, and I'm going to speak more towards video content just because that's more of my expertise. But I always say back in 2016, I had two choices, right? When I got on video, I had the choice of live video on Facebook and I had the choice of recorded video on YouTube. Those were my really only two options back in the day. And
Yeah.
today we have so many opportunities. We have stories that disappear in 24 hours. We have
Yeah.
face to cam video. We have behind the scenes voiceover videos. We have trends. Like there's so much and there's so many options. I believe, number one, that I would find the medium that makes me feel like most alive. Like, what do I really gravitate towards? What do I love consuming? And then I would focus on creating that type of content first and then exploring others as you get more confident because you may decide you like something else better. You may decide that your audience likes something else better. And so really just starting somewhere that lights you up and then expanding out from that. And as you grow, you're going to do more things. You're going to get more uncomfortable. But just starting small with a 15-second video, right? It doesn't mean we have to do something extravagant, but really just starting small and then again moving and taking bigger risks and creating more discomfort after we get comfortable with being comfortable, then make sure we are always moving towards discomfort.
Yeah, I think speed is an advantage in business and creating content too, because a lot of persons they start creating content. It's 3 months, before 6 months, they're like, well, oh, I posted 2 episodes, and they're like, what happened? Well, like, what happened was that, oh, wow, that's right. I totally forgot that I said I was going to start creating content. How did I ever forget about it? But once you plunge
Yeah.
yourself into it, quickly you get skin in the game, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you talked about how you had this self doubt about putting yourself in video. You never wanted to be the center of attraction, but when you reframed it and realized that it wasn't about you, it was about being generous to the people you wanted to serve by sharing your story, your uniqueness. Yeah, that's like one mindset shift that I'm holding on to. Key takeaway from this episode. I'd love for you to like share with me some other mindset shifts that that helped you the most when you started stepping into your visibility. Is that how to articulate it?
Okay. All right. This is great because I have a lot of them. Okay. So, first of all, obviously, the number one, the main one is that it's not about me, it's about them. The second thing that I realized when I first got on video, I wanted everybody to like me. And when you want everybody to like you, that type of content is so content, meaning that people can take you or leave you, but they're not really invested in what you have to say. And so I realized really quickly if, to play it safe per se and to, not get hated on means you're also normally creating so content because you've got to activate people, which will automatically trigger some other people. So really redefining my content strategy and knowing that I'm not going to everybody's not going to love what I have to say, but also everybody is not my person. And really having that mindset shift that I think there's a video that used to be on TikTok that said, why are you so worried about everybody liking you? Because you don't even like everybody. And I think that was like
Wow.
a big eye opener. We're not meant
Wow.
to like everyone. We're not meant to. So not
Yeah.
everybody is meant to like us either.
Yeah. Yeah. My God. This is why I call Rema. He just dropped it. These are the things you write down. You just so why are you worried about everyone liking you when you don't even like everyone? Wow.
Yeah.
That's
It was
that's
huge.
that's
It was a huge mindset shift.
that's what we call sound bites. Put
Yeah.
it there. Thank you so much for sharing that. That now, all through the process you've been sharing your story about how you took this step and how you were worried about the makeup and looking good on camera and all that. I think yeah, that's exactly a peculiar case scenario for the female entrepreneurs and all that. You're like, okay, I need to do my makeup. My hair is not done well and all those things.
Yeah.
And of course, looking good is good business, but sometimes you they actually look good, but it's just perfectionism. Trying to like find the slightest detail to cover up, to stop someone from putting themselves out there. How can they start creating? How can they take the next step? Like, okay, it's enough. How can they take the next step today and start creating?
The first thing I will say to anyone is if you are going to get on video, I want you to feel confident. And that means to start out, if you need to have your makeup done, if you need to have your hair done, if you need to use a filter, like I don't really care. Because the point is that I think your message matters. And if you are feeling very convicted about that, as long as you feel confident in the way you can be scared. You can be scared. Everybody can be scared. You can be nervous, but you can also still be confident in who you are and in what you bring to the table and the message that you're sharing and the lives that you can change in the process. And so I think finding that confidence and, for me, it used to be I had to wear big flashy earrings and I had to have on lipstick, right? Now I could care less. But back then to get on and to really get my confidence up, that's one of the things I used. And now today, it doesn't matter to me. I'll go live with barely any makeup on, but I always feel the best version of myself because I think that's important because I honestly, if you've ever heard about communication, our communication is only 7% of the words that we feel. The rest of it is almost invisible. And so therefore, it's our tone, it's our body, our mannerisms in our body, the way that we show up, the way that we stand. And those things are a million times more important than how you look and even the words that you say. And so when you focus on your confidence, your conviction, the message is going to land every time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a lot of value out there. Can you like share with us some of your daily habits, that kind of like keeps you going? Because it's great to start. A lot of the content creators, they start multiple times, but the problem is not about starting. It's the fact that when they start, maybe a month into it, they stop, and it's 6 months after they're like, yeah, that's true. I started critical. What happened? Why did I just go for 8 months, 9 months, 10 months for no reason? What are the daily habits you put in place? The kind of like the system, that helps you, that encourages you, that kind of works for you instead of working against you to put yourself out there and to create.
So I have several, I basically have this morning routine that I do. And I think it pours into me, but it also pours into my audience. It helps make me the best version of myself. So the first thing that I say that I do every single day is I get into what I call my CEO state. And if you've ever followed Tony Robbins, if you've ever followed anybody like that, they talk about getting into your peak state. And your peak state is really what makes you the best version of yourself. It makes you command attention. It creates confidence. It creates so many things. And so it's really important to get in that peak state first thing, because when you're in that peak state, you're able to show up differently. You're able to pour into yourself. You're able to do so many things that you wouldn't be able to do if you're not the best version of yourself. So in my peak state, or what I call my CEO state, obviously I'm taking care of my health. I'm taking care of my mind. I'm owning who I am. I'm doing full gratitude. So I'm doing some little things like that every single day. That's my CEO state. And then the other things that I do is I always show up. And the first thing is that I serve my audience. Every single day, I say I'm going to serve my audience. And that's what I do. Because when it comes to visibility, we think of us being seen. And it is true that as far as visibility goes, we do need to be seen and heard. However, if our audience at the same time doesn't feel seen and heard through our content, it doesn't land. And so really there is this visibility factor that I get to be seen, but also at the same time that my audience feels seen and heard too, so that everybody feels seen. And then that's when they feel more related to you. So I always make sure that happens. I serve my clients every single day. And then I also sell every single day. So those are things that I do every single day that make the biggest impact on my business.
One could argue, right? And this is me just putting it out there, right? One could argue that, your case is peculiar. That it's probably because, putting yourself out there is directly connected to your business, right? And, it's something that it's like you can directly measure and see, okay, this putting myself out there is working and stuff like that. For someone who they don't necessarily, it's not putting themselves out there is not necessarily something that, of course, visibility would bring a lot of eyeballs to whatever you are doing, irrespective of the kind of business. But they just want to be a thought leader. They just want to give back, and it's way different, right? You know, what to ask the question in a different way. What I'm saying is that for you, it's more like a job, right? It's more like a full-time job. And there's a different approach one would have towards a full-time job. And then for other persons, creating content and putting themselves out there, it's more like a part-time stuff. It's one of those things that it's their personal project that if they don't get to do it, no, but nothing's going to happen. It's not really what it's not really okay. It's not really their source of livelihood. It's not one of those jobs that their boss gives them or any of those things, right? It's just something that they want to do, they desire to do. But if they don't do it, life goes on.
Yeah. So are you saying for people who have a full-time job, this is just like a side hustle type thing?
Yeah. Those kind of person.
I mean, obviously everybody has their level of what they want to do. I guess it feels like a full-time job. I don't know if it even feels like a full-time job to me because I'm not online that much. As much as people think that I am. I just know how to maximize every single thing that I do. I know how to repurpose content like a queen. I know how to take a long form video and turn it into a million short videos, So it really is, I think about working smarter, not harder. And also, I am a true believer that when you are talking about something that you are so passionate about, it's never going to feel like work, right? It's never going to feel like work. And if you, for example, I have people who do have full-time jobs and they're still growing their business because they're not ready to let go of that security. They find the pockets of time that they can, or they schedule things, or they bulk create on a weekend or something like that. So there are a lot of opportunities. It just depends on how much time you want to invest in anything. But the thing is that no matter what, and I will stand by this is a hill I will stand on, is that when you want something, make something happen, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be like a cakewalk, right? We get to put in the time, and we get to put in the purpose, and we get to put in, you get out what you put into something. And so if you really want to blow up as a content creator, there has to be a focus time. If you want to work out and get healthy, you've got to have focus time to do that. And so it's really like, how bad do you want it? And where are you going to put the time? Yes, we all have the same 24 hours in a day. And it's like, how many of those hours are you going to focus on building that side of your life?
Yeah. I, can you this is visibility is when I don't know why is it that I feel like I might end up calling you visibility. I try remembering your name just now, and in my head, what was just popping up was visibility, and then later on, I remember your name was Crissy. I'm just saying, like right, I'm just saying. Okay, the question I wanted to ask was, can you walk us through? So what you do is you help people. I think your company is Visibility.
Visible CEO, yes.
Yeah, and if I'm correct, and then you help CEOs. Okay, just give me a rundown of what your business does, just for those listening.
Absolutely. So when I first started my business, it was all about getting on video. And most people are on video today. That's not what I necessarily focus on anymore. Now what I see is people as a business, right? There's parts of their business that aren't visible. So for example, maybe they're on video, but they're creating so-so content because they're not being authentic or they're not identifying their ideal person. So that their ideal person feels invisible. So that's a part that's hiding in their business. Maybe they're not talking about their offers and they're not selling enough or launching enough. Again, that part of their business is invisible. So what I do is I find the holes or the places in someone's business that are hidden, especially specifically when it comes to marketing and making money, and really help them self-identify and bring that part of their business to the light so that it is visible to not only them, but also their audience.
Yeah. Yeah. So what you do is you go to a business that is malnourished in terms of content, that has kwashoko, and you help to give them balanced diets and and give them a balanced strategy. You go into the business and you more like give them a holistic, balanced strategy, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it could be considered that. Yeah, but it really is that the strategy of the missing pieces in their business.
Yeah. Yeah. So you more like you fix things, and you make sure that the roof is not leaking, and you fix the potholes and all those things. Metaphorically speaking, though.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I like the fact that so visible CEOs, is it just for CEOs, or
Yeah, I mostly work with people who own their own businesses. So CEOs, entrepreneurs, business owners. So anybody that owns their own business typically works with me.
if I'm a solopreneur, do I fit the category of people who own their business?
Absolutely.
Uh,
I think at the end of the day, we're all solopreneurs for sure because we're wearing a lot of hats and we're doing a lot of it solo.
Yeah. I just say, let me ask that. A lot of persons that are creating content, and that's like one of the questions they would ask is like, okay, you talk about business. I know back to the thing of self doubt too, right? A lot of persons that they actually making good money from what they are doing online, and from serving and helping people, but just because maybe it's not traditional, maybe it's not maybe they don't have a team of 100,000 persons working under them, they don't consider themselves legit, they don't consider themselves as doing a business or onto something. And so when people even ask them, what do you do, they tend to like dust it off and say,
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you so much. I like from this episode, like I feel like I got a lot of value. Yeah. I got a lot of
Well, thank
value.
you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. And I noticed that when we started talking about the self doubt parts, you became really, really excited.
Yeah.
Yeah. If someone is listening, uh, someone listening right now, and you talked about how do I phrase this question now? Okay, let me just explain the scenario so that it's clearer what I'm trying to ask. A lot of persons, they've tried to figure out the self doubt aspect, and it's
Mhm.
not, they've kind of moved over that step, right? And they're like, okay, this is the next step. Now the problem they have is that they are actually really, really busy. Like, they have so much on their plate, and they're doing a lot. Like, they barely have time for themselves, and the time they have is just to like relax and rest, right? What could be
Mhm.
at first, when I did ask the question, it was a different question, though. You gave some examples of persons, how they put those things in place. Now, these people are passionate about it. They are really, really inspired to do this thing, but they don't have that much time on their plate. And how could they? What would be the system, the workflow to like walk through to ensure that they can create consistent content? And then you can also show us some maybe tools, strategies, and let's get technical a bit.
Yeah. So one of the things and exercises I have my clients do is to literally write down pen to paper, because I think there's so much brain science with that. Everything they love to talk about. Everything they love to talk about. All I need is then the topic, the one word, right? Like, what are the things you love to talk about? For me, for example, it would be visibility, it would be video, it would be sales, it would be growing businesses, it would be content creation, it would be things like that, right? And so I would write all of these things down. And then I would find out, like, does this make sense that I talk about these things? Obviously, right? Is this part of my brand? Does this make sense? And then what I love to teach my clients is to how many things can you talk about? Like, for example, for me, how much can I talk about visibility? Well, I can talk about visibility till I'm blue in the face. The thing is that most people feel like, well, I've already said that. And we get to repeat ourselves a lot. So you could take one topic and literally talk about it a whole entire week and then go to another topic the second week. And that's like a really easy strategy for anyone, even somebody who has not created content, to really start doing, because you want to talk about things you feel knowledgeable about, that you love talking about, that make you feel excited. And so that's kind of what I teach inside of my book, The Content Creation Machine Journal. It's you really just map it out. You map out all these topics, and then you go deep into like 10 things I know about this topic, right? Or 10 things 10 strategies I would recommend not doing when it comes to this topic, and really just figuring out like how much you know about this topic and doing what we call repetition strategy and talking about it over and over and over. Because when you get tired of hearing yourself talk about it, it's starting to get good and your audience is starting to figure out, oh yeah, they're an expert at that.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Before they even start, they should get a kind of like, you should go to the drawing board, get a plan, and then, you know, align the pieces together towards where they want to go to. Okay. So you talked about the contents, your book, the contents machine journal, right?
Yeah, the Content Creation Machine Journal.
Okay, the content creation machine journal. Okay, so that kind of, it's more like, I'm thinking it's more like a workbook. It helps someone walks through. I think it's more like a personal coach somehow.
Yeah, absolutely. It really is. It really is.
Yeah, yeah. So it's helped someone walk through, because I feel that most of the time, the reason why a lot of persons get stuck is because they don't know what to do, right? They want to do stuff, but they just don't know what to do. And there are so many things they could be doing. They don't want to end up doing the like you said, they don't want to end up doing the wrong thing or failing. And so using resource like this would help someone articulate. I don't know why I keep using the word articulate. Would help someone uh, put the pieces together so it's clear what you stand for, what you do, and who you help. And that way, when you hop on video, when you want to make content, when the thing is, once you get clear on these things, ideas will just start coming, right? You look everywhere, you look what you do, you start getting ideas.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the things I love telling my clients is that the more that we live our life, the more creative we are. The more we live at our desk, the more you live at your desk and you feel stressed and it feels heavy and you're trying to force it. It's like, writers always have they have those journals that like their writing prompts so they can kind of get their creative juices flowing. The same thing is true. Content creator, if you sit down and you look at the blank screen and you're like, I'm trying to force myself to do this, it's not going to land. It's not going to come across. It's not going to feel effortless. It's going to feel heavy. And so the more that you live your life, you actually create content accidentally, right? But just by living your life and just by enjoying life and being grateful and being fulfilled.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, that's so true. I noticed that you have your own podcast. Can you like tell us a bit about what your podcast is about, and yeah, what you talk about?
Yeah. So my podcast is called The Visibility Impact Show, and it's really helping female entrepreneurs grow their business. Obviously, we talk about visibility, we talk about mentorship, we talk about sales, we talk about launching, we talk about all the things that block us from being fully seen. Absolutely all things about growing businesses.
I feel like I get to. How often do you release episodes? So
At minimum once a week.
okay, okay. So every week we get to get free coaching from you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Thank you so much for your stories about self doubt. Like I like the way you kind of tie in you make every of the tip you gave relatable by tying it to some of your stories and some of your clients you worked with. I really do appreciate that. The question I want to ask is, if someone has listened to you, they love what you've talked about, and they're like, "Wow, she really knows her stuff. I'd love to learn more about her. I'd love to connect with her. I'd love to, just look around and find what she's doing and what she has and how she can help me." Where can listeners go to?
I would always recommend going to thevisibleceo.com, or you can find me pretty much on any platform at It's Crissy Conner. And there's always links in my bios and things like that of what I'm doing and loads of video content.
Yeah, yeah. Before we go, anything regarding this topic you feel that my audience should take note of, maybe an axiom, a really important advice or thoughts that's you feel that they should know about that I probably did not ask as a question.
Yeah, I think the number one thing is that, like, if things feel heavy in anything that you do, specifically content creation and getting on video, right? If it feels heavy, find a way for it not to feel heavy, because the purpose is that you should enjoy it or find a way to enjoy it. Because if it feels heavy, you're never going to want to do it. You're going to have a hard time being consistent, and it's going to show up in everything that you do. Like, if you hate getting on video, you're not going to really be able to hide that, right? So really finding a purpose, a why, or a deeper reason to do the things that you desire to do so that you find a way to enjoy it. I hated video and I found a way to enjoy it, and I absolutely am obsessed with it now.
Yeah. Well, sometimes the things that we think we hate, we've not even tried them yet. We say we hate them, and the question is, how do you know you hate something when you've never tried it, when you've never done it, and yet you say you don't like it? Like it amazes me.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Most people don't give it a chance, or they don't give it a chance long enough to actually know. I love this scenario when people say, I've tried everything. And I'm like, yeah, no, you haven't. None of us have had that amount of time to actually try everything long enough to know if it would actually work or not.
Yeah, yeah. I think recently I spoke to someone and I was like, he said he was looking for, I think I was looking for a particular thing. And I was like, okay, what have you done? He was like, I've searched everywhere. And I was like, okay, I didn't want to argue. I was like, okay, can you list some of the things you searched? And by the time he listed two or three, he was like, that's all. And I was like, so that's what you call everywhere. I was expecting maybe like 1,000 things. Then I would say, okay, you've tried.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Crissy. I really, really do appreciate you coming on my podcast. Thank you so much. It's an honor for an expert, someone who's actually in the field, in the game, walking the talk and helping other persons come on the pod. I feel like it's free coaching that I just had the opportunity of getting right now. Yeah, honestly,
You are very welcome.
no doubt. That's it for today's episode of Wisdom Journal. If you found this insightful, helpful, and you learned a lot from this episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review on your respective podcast listening platform. It really helps other persons discover the show. Yeah, keep creating, keep learning, and most importantly, keep sharing your journey. You never know who needs your wisdom today. You see what I did there? Until next time, stay inspired and keep going.